Revealed, how a barista's heartwarming gesture in 6 languages transformed an unexpected global bonding moment. Maya stood behind the counter of Brewed Awakening, the coffee shop at the heart of her close-knit neighborhood. The aroma of freshly ground coffee beans curled through the air, energizing patrons and enveloping Maya in its warm embrace. She smiled at each customer, but today, her eyes fell upon Mr. Thompson, the elderly war veteran who always occupied the same corner table. His usual twinkle seemed dimmed, his brow furrowed with worry, like he was carrying the weight of the world. Maya felt a tug at her heart. In her 24 years of life, she'd learned that sometimes all it took was a simple gesture to change someone's day. Today, she wanted to do just that. Without thinking twice, she poured his favorite black coffee, arranging it on the table with care. She tucked a handwritten note of encouragement beside it, written in 6 different languages. She knew Mr. Thompson had shared a life filled with struggles but also stories from places far and wide. With a gentle smile, she said, "Just a little something to brighten your day." As he unfolded the note, a shift happened. The patrons nearby started to notice. Conversations ignited across the cafe. One person shared about losing a job, another about a sick parent. The stories flowed like the warm coffee filling their cups, revealing shared hardships and common struggles. Maya watched, amazed, as strangers became friends, found connections forged in vulnerability and hope, but when she returned home that night, the warmth faded. Her mother's voice was sharp. "Maya, what are you doing? You need to think about a real job. Life out there is tough, and hope doesn't pay the bills." The words stung, but Maya felt the pulse of the community pulling at her heart. The next morning, Mr. Thompson felt invigorated by Maya's gesture. Inspired, he began organizing gatherings in the very coffee shop where both he and Maya felt the warmth of their shared neighborhood. Soon, neighbors came together to discuss the economic challenges facing them. A movement was born, a grassroots effort to fight the invisible barriers to the American dream, yet, it wasn't smooth sailing. Differences surfaced as age-old prejudices began to rear their heads. At a crucial meeting hosted at Brewed Awakening, emotions ran high. Voices clashed, each person passionately defending their perspectives. Maya sat quietly in the back, her heart racing. She understood that confronting systemic problems required a united front, but fear of division loomed. In a charged moment, their eyes locked. Mr. Thompson seemed to draw strength from her gaze as he encouraged the crowd to remember what united them. Just as they seemed to shift toward common ground, an unexpected voice interrupted the air thick with tension, altering the trajectory of the discussion. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let us continue. As the room filled with murmurs of surprise, Maya felt her heart thumping louder than ever. Would this voice tear apart the fragile connections they had built? She understood in that instant just how pivotal this moment was, not just for Mr. Thompson or herself, but for the entire community. With the stakes so high, Maya gripped the edge of her seat, ready to discover what would unfold next. Maya leaned forward, straining to catch every word from the stranger who had so suddenly disrupted the delicate fabric of their gathering. The newcomer, a young woman with bright blue hair and a tattoo of a coffee cup on her wrist, stood tall despite the murmurs rippling through the cafe. "Wait a second," she said, voice strong and clear. "You can't just sweep this under the rug. Real change means facing hard truths." There was a collective pause as the crowd processed her intensity. Mr. Thompson's eyes widened, caught between admiration and fear. Maya's pulse quickened. She felt the room shift, like the world was about to tip either into chaos or clarity. The rawness of the moment struck her. This wasn't just about coffee and community, it was about finding strength in their differences and refusing to stay silent. "Who are you to say what's important?" snapped a man from the back. He wore a worn-out flannel, a testament to possibly better days. "We're here to support each other. Not argue." The blue-haired woman planted her feet. "And that's exactly why we need to argue. How can we fix our problems if we're afraid to speak the truth? What if we're only hearing the easy stories? The feel-good ones? What about the struggles we hide?" A tension crackled in the air, thick and heavy. This was it. The turning point. Maya watched as faces flared with bright indignation, then melted into retreating shadows of contemplation. People shifted in their seats, murmurs rising and falling like waves crashing on a shore. "Look," Mr. Thompson began, raising his hand for silence. "She's got a point. We can't pretend to unite without acknowledging our deep-seated issues." The weight of his words settled on the group. Many heads nodded slowly, as if awakening to a consciousness they had ignored. Maya felt a sense of urgency swelling inside her. This was not just another meeting, it was an opportunity to reveal deeper truths, to foster real connections. "Let us listen," she finally called out, her voice surprising even herself with its strength. "Let us truly listen to one another, no matter how hard it is. We can't solve anything if we don't talk about what hurts." The crowd quieted, and the blue-haired woman softened just a bit, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Exactly," she murmured. "It's scary, but if we do this together, we might actually find something that helps us all feel seen and heard." As the meeting continued, people began sharing their stories raw and unfiltered. Voices trembled as they spoke of challenges, injustices, and triumphs, laughter broke through tears, and disagreements turned into understanding. Maya felt the room pulse with life around her, resonating with the energy of shared humanity, but amidst the newfound connections, a familiar shadow loomed for Maya. As she glanced at the clock, she remembered her mother's harsh words. Doubts returned, whispering in the back of her mind doubts about her place in this movement, the community, and her future. That's when Mr. Thompson caught her eye again. "Maya, your heart has brought us together. You started something special here," he urged. "You just need to believe in yourself as much as we believe in you." Tears threatened to spill, but Maya blinked them away. At that moment, she knew she had to face her fears, not just for herself, but for every person in that cafe. They needed each other to be brave. Then, just as the atmosphere began to shift toward a more constructive dialogue, the cafe doors swung open forcefully. Everyone turned, eyes widening anxiously as a robed figure entered, their face shadowed by the hood. Uncertainty crept back into the air. Maya's breath caught in her throat. Who was this new arrival, and what did they want? Was this a threat to the unity they'd just begun to forge, or perhaps something altogether unexpected? The figure stepped inside, the muted light casting an eerie shadow across their face. For a moment, the cafe felt like a scene straight out of a movie, a group of people on the edge of something profound, only to be challenged by the unknown. Maya held her breath, unsure of what to expect next. The robed individual took a slow step forward, and the hood fell back slightly. A face emerged, familiar yet distant. It was a woman Maya had seen on community bulletin boards, advocating for social justice and sustainable living. "I'm sorry for barging in," she said, her voice soft but steady. "I was just passing by and couldn't help but overhear." A murmur flitted through the crowd, intrigued yet hesitant. The blue-haired woman, still standing tall, folded her arms and regarded the newcomer. "Well, you've certainly made your presence known. What do you want?" "I came to remind you," the newcomer said, raising her hands, "that the conversations you're having are important, but they can't just stay here. Too often, we talk without sharing our stories outside these walls. We need to take this energy beyond the cafe." Maya felt a spark ignite inside her. This was the second time tonight that someone had urged them to break boundaries. She exchanged glances with Mr. Thompson, whose face lit up with understanding. "She's right," he said, nodding slowly. "We are a community, yes, but we're also a part of a larger world. What if we made our voices heard beyond these walls? The room buzzed with new energy, a flicker of hope lighting the shadows of doubt. How do we do that? Someone asked, breaking the silence. Start where you are, the newcomer replied. Engage with those around you. Use social media. Organize events that expand beyond just this space. The excitement in the room swelled. Ideas flowed like a warm stream, each suggestion rooting itself in the hopes and dreams of the café's patrons. They began to brainstorm, a community festival, discussions with local schools, art exhibits that could fill the walls with their aspirations. The blue-haired woman's fervor reignited as she fed off the energy. I can create flyers and post them around town. She volunteered. And I know people who can help set up an open mic night. Maya's heart raced as she listened to their voices intertwining, each person contributing their vision. She felt an overwhelming urge to jump in and assert her own ideas, yet uncertainty tugged at her. What if her suggestions were foolish or wouldn't resonate? But then she remembered Mr. Thompson's words. This was about more than just her. Gathering her courage, she spoke up. We could create a community project that highlights our stories, something visual that demonstrates who we are and what matters to us collectively. The room hushed for a moment, then erupted in applause. Yes. That's brilliant. Someone exclaimed, and Maya's heart soared. The realization that her ideas had value ignited a fire in her chest. But just as the plans began to crystallize, a sudden loud crash shattered their momentum. A window shattered on the other side of the cafe, sending shards of glass cascading to the floor. Panic surged through the crowd, hearts racing as they turned to see what had caused the chaos. Maya's stomach dropped. What was happening now? Dark clouds loomed over this moment of connection, threatening to snuff out the light they had just begun to kindle. Was this a sign of trouble lurking nearby? Or merely an accident waiting to be explained? The questions hung heavy in the air as tension gripped the room once more. What would they do now? Shocked murmurs filled the cafe, clawing at the atmosphere like jagged glass. Maya's heart pounded as faces turned toward the shattered window. The realization that this moment of inspiration was at risk felt like a dark weight pressing down on her. Everyone, stay calm. Mr. Thompson's voice cut through the chaos. He stood, steady and resolute, his presence a beacon amid the confusion. Let us see what's happening. It could be just an accident. The blue-haired woman stepped back, her expression shifting from fury to fear. What if it's not? What if someone's trying to intimidate us? Her arms wrapped protectively around herself. Her earlier enthusiasm had evaporated, replaced by uncertainty. Maya's eyes searched the crowded cafe, seeking a sense of direction. Individuals whispered hurriedly, glancing between the exit and the broken glass, but no one moved. It was as if the chaos outside had torn apart the fragile bond they had just begun to weave together. Then, a figure stepped into view beyond the shards of glass, silhouetted against the dim light. It was a young man, panting, with eyes wild and unsteady. He raised his hands, palms open in a gesture of peace, revealing a crumpled paper bag in his grip. Please, I didn't mean it. What do you mean, you didn't mean it? The blue-haired woman snapped, her voice strong but quivering with a cocktail of fear and anger. You shattered our window. I was just trying to get inside. I thought I could help. His breath huffed out like steam from a kettle, his words rushing together in frantic urgency. Maya could feel the rush of emotions swirling around the tension, the anger, the fear. But beneath them all was the pulse of hope they had ignited just moments before. Where would this encounter lead? Help? Asked Mr. Thompson, stepping closer. Help with what? The young man leaned against the doorframe, clearly exhausted. I've been watching, hearing what you all were saying. There's so much out there, so much we need to change. His eyes darted across the room, connecting with each individual. People in our neighborhood are struggling. We can't just talk about it in here. We need to act now. Maya felt a flutter in her chest, the spark of possibility reigniting. This was the very essence of their discussion, the urgency to reach beyond the cafe walls. "What do you mean by act?" she asked, her voice rising above the hushed tones. "I was part of a group trying to feed the homeless in our area," he explained, his voice cracking slightly. "I thought I could gather support. We've got supplies, food, clothes. But we need more hands, we need a community." The tension in the room began to shift, curiosity creeping in where fear had once held sway. "What do you need?" Maya asked, her heart racing as urgency filled her voice. The young man's eyes lit up. "We need volunteers. People to help distribute supplies, to spread the word. We're meeting tomorrow at the park. If you'd come, we could really use your voices." A ripple of excitement swept through the cafe. Maya glanced around at the faces people were considering, thinking, making connections. Mr. Thompson's expression softened. "Maya's right. This is what we need to do. We can take our discussion outside these walls. Together." The blue-haired woman nodded, her defiance softening into determination. "I'm in. I know how to organize events and spread the word." Maya felt electrified by the moment, each heartbeat pushing them forward. Could this be the change they had been seeking? As she focused on the gathering energy, another thought prickled at the back of her mind: what if they succeeded? But just as she began to embrace the possibilities before them, her phone chimed, interrupting the moment. An emergency alert flashed across the screen. Something was unfolding in their neighborhood. One more reason to hurry, to act. Maya's stomach twisted with anxiety. What is happening? Is there something we don't know? As everyone gathered around, their eyes glued to her phone in a mix of fear and determination, an unexpected question loomed in the air: would they be ready to face whatever was coming next? The alert blared from Maya's phone, cutting through the cafe like a knife. Faces shifted from anxious to genuinely alarmed as the news unfolded. Police are investigating a series of incidents happening this evening in several neighborhoods. Residents are advised to stay indoors until further notice, the automated voice echoed ominously. Mr. Thompson's eyebrows furrowed. "What kind of incidents?" he asked, glancing back at Maya, a mix of concern and urgency in his gaze. Maya scanned the screen, her heart racing. "It just says some people have been vandalizing community centers. There are reports of threats too." Her voice trailed off, the gravity of the situation pressing hard on her chest. The blue-haired woman gripped the edge of the table, her knuckles white. "This is exactly what we were talking about. How can we help if we're stuck inside?" Maya felt a surge of fear. They had just started building this community, and now it felt like they were teetering on the edge of disaster. "Maybe this is the wake-up call we need," she said, forcing enthusiasm into her voice, despite the tightening knot in her stomach. "We can't wait until it's safe to act. We must address these issues before they escalate." The young man, still panting from his initial entry, nodded fervently. "Yes. There are people out there who depend on us. If we wait, who knows what will happen." The blue-haired woman cut in, her determination flickering back to life. "We could plan our outreach now, strategize. We can't let fear control us." Maya felt adrenaline pumping through her veins. "Exactly. We need to meet tonight and figure out how we can make a difference right away. The park gathering can't just be about supplies, it needs to be a rallying point. A show of solidarity." Mr. Thompson stepped forward, his previously calm demeanor shifting into leadership mode. "We must be united. We can't allow threats to divide us. Let us find a safe place, maybe someone's house, and start organizing. We need to reach out to those in our community who may be in trouble." A chorus of agreement swept through the cafe. The energy, once fractured, began to thrum with purpose. Maya felt exhilarated as they rallied together, minds racing with ideas and strategies. They chose a nearby community center as their meeting point, a stronghold that could serve as both a planning hub and a refuge. As they gathered their things, Maya felt her phone vibrate again. With a quick glance at the screen, she saw a new notification. It was from a local social media group meant for community updates, and the feed was flooded with messages of fear, anger, and uncertainty. "This is turning into chaos," someone whispered nervously. Maya's heart hammered even faster. "But let us make it a chaos of hope. We have a chance here to change this narrative," she declared, the flames of passion burning bright in her chest. She could see the doubt in some faces, but determination was slowly replacing it. They had faced a panic that could consume them. Now they had to turn it into action, a force for good. As they flowed out of the cafe, Maya felt a weight lifted. Yet, another thought pricked at her. What if their efforts weren't enough? What if they floundered in the face of such adversity? They reached the parking lot, where day was fading towards dusk. Shadows lingered, and uncertainty hung heavy. Would they really be able to stand against whatever storm was brewing in their neighborhood? Maya glanced back at the cafe, her heart swelling with a mix of hope and fear. They were stepping into the unknown, and at that moment, she vowed to fight for every soul in their community no matter the cost. As they set off towards the meeting point, a chilling roar echoed through the street. Something had begun to unfold, something that could alter the course of their mission forever. Was it the rallying cry of their community, or would it signal something darker? The roar pierced the evening air again, this time sharper, sending shivers down Maya's spine. It felt close, too close, and she quickly scanned her surroundings for any sign of danger. The friends around her had their expressions set, a mix of determination and fear. They were in this together, but there was no denying the unease that crept in as the growing darkness settled over the neighborhood. "Let us stick together," Mr. Thompson urged, his voice steady but low, echoing her own thoughts. "Safety in numbers." They moved swiftly through the parking lot, heading toward the nearby community center. As they walked, the distant sounds of shouting grew louder, blurring into chaotic murmurs and echoes of panic. Maya's heart raced. This was not the rallying cry they had hoped for. What had started as an earnest movement was now teetering on the edge of chaos. Reaching the entrance of the community center, they pushed through the heavy doors and gathered in the main hall. The space felt familiar yet unwelcoming under the flickering fluorescent lights. Out of habit, Maya checked her phone again for updates, but the messages had become overwhelming. Community members were anxious and angry, sharing posts filled with warnings and pleas for help. "Okay, let us focus," she said, raising her voice slightly to cut through the rising murmur. "We need to channel this energy into something constructive. We can't let fear grip us." Heads nodded, but the concern in their eyes remained. "What if that noise out there is something sinister?" The blue-haired woman whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "What if we're putting ourselves in danger?" Maya felt a sharp pang of reality hit her. It was one thing to speak of action and hope, it was another to face the potential for violence. She inhaled deeply, feeling the collective weight of uncertainty resting heavily on her shoulders. "Fear is natural," she said, trying to sound braver than she felt. "But it's also a choice. We can choose to be afraid and do nothing, or we can choose to stand up for our community." "But how?" one of the younger members asked, his voice wavering. Mr. Thompson stepped forward again, rallying the group. "We need to find out what's really happening. Contact our neighbors. Assess the situation. And above all, let us make sure we're not giving in to panic." They began to organize into small teams, assigning roles. Maya felt a flicker of hope as she saw the spark of determination ignite in the eyes of her friends. They began writing down names and areas of the community that needed to be checked on. Meanwhile, the unsettling noise outside became a heartbeat that thudded against the walls of the center, reminding them of the brewing storm. Voices carried mixed signals of urgency and dread. With every sound, her heart raced a little faster, but she couldn't show that fear, not now. Looking around at the faces lit by the dim lights, she realized something profound. This was their moment of truth, a chance to unite and rise together, not just for their community but for themselves. The idea of vulnerability transformed into a shared strength. Then, through the chaos, a loud crash rang out, a window shattering. The noise like a gunshot cut through the atmosphere, and the group froze. Maya caught the eye of the blue-haired woman. They shared a moment of silent understanding. Things were about to change, and there was no turning back. "Stay here," Mr. Thompson shouted as he moved to the door, determination etched on his face. "Wait. We need to stick together," Maya pleaded, her heart pounding, but Mr. Thompson was already moving, and the inevitability of what lay outside drew closer. Maya felt a rush of panic and resolve. She had to act. She couldn't let them face this storm without her. As her feet followed, she couldn't help but wonder, what awaited them in the crisis outside, and would it shatter their community or forge them stronger than ever? The door swung open with a creak that seemed to echo across the parking lot. Cold air rushed in, stinging Maya's skin. She followed Mr. Thompson out, her friends close behind her, the surge of adrenaline overpowering her fear. Outside, the scene was chaos. Shouted voices mixed with the deep growl that sent a tremor through the ground. A small group of townsfolk was gathered near the shattered window, shouting at each other and pointing in disarray. Maya felt the weight of their anxiety pressing against her. "What happened?" Maya called out as they approached, her voice firm despite the panic rising inside her. "Something's going wrong, down by the park." A woman yelled back, her face red and wild. "People are rioting. They can't even see what they're doing." Maya swallowed hard. She hadn't expected it to escalate like this. Her gut twisted, and for a moment, it felt as if the ground beneath her could open up and swallow her whole. But this was not the time to falter. "Okay, we need to regroup," Mr. Thompson barked, trying to take control of the situation. "Let us split up and see what we can do. Find those who might need help." Before anyone could respond, a loud bang echoed in the distance, like a gunshot. Maya flinched, the air thick with dread. The shadows loomed larger as she faced the direction of the noise, heart racing. They were teetering on the edge of something dangerous, and she could feel it in her bones. A sense of urgency drove her forward. "We can't just stand here," she urged, looking at the group. "We have to move. People need us." With some hesitation, they followed her lead. Maya took charge, adrenaline sharpening her focus. "Mr. Thompson, you lead one group toward the park and try to control the situation. I'll head with a few others to the houses near Main Street. We can check if anyone is in trouble." Mr. Thompson nodded, his expression a firm mask of determination. "Stay safe, Maya. Reach out for help if needed." As Maya organized her team, a flicker of hope sparked within her. They were standing together, despite the fear bubbling just under the surface. They were doing something, taking action in the face of uncertainty. "Let us go," she shouted, as they pulled their jackets tighter and began marching down the street. The chaos intensified as they arrived near the park. The sight was jarring. A makeshift barricade had formed with overturned cars, and a few brave souls had gathered, shouting for them to back off. Fear surged through Maya, but she pushed it down. "Hey! We're here to help," she shouted, stepping a little closer. The crowd turned, eyes wild, some in anger, others in confusion. This was not what the community had been. Where was the kindness they had all signed up for? A man stepped forward, his fists clenched. "You don't understand. Things are going too far. They don't care about us. We're done begging for help." Maya felt her chest tighten. The sincerity in his voice resonated, but it was mixed with a deep sense of despair. "And we can't let it get worse. We're here for each other. Let us talk this out." For a moment, everything hung in the balance. Tension wrapped around them like a thick blanket. Then, slowly, the man's expression softened. "What do you mean?" he asked, confusion creeping into his tone. Maya took a step closer, determination igniting in her voice. Let us not lose our humanity. We can find a way together. But as she spoke, the ground shook once more, and the chaotic energy grew louder, more visceral. Maya heard a distant roar, but something was different this time. It felt almost alive, and she realized it was getting closer. What was that? A member of her group gasped, eyes wide. Maya's heart raced, fear pooling in her stomach. She had no answers right now, but she understood they were faced with something that could change everything. We need to stay together, she yelled. But deep inside, she wondered, would they rise to the occasion, or would they be swept away by the tide of chaos swallowing their community whole? A moment of silence fell over the crowd as the ground shook again, each tremor resonating like a heartbeat. Maya could feel the fear weighing heavily on everyone. She glanced around, searching for understanding in the worried faces surrounding her. A woman nearby gripped a child, her wide eyes screaming for reassurance. We have to think. Maya called out, trying to rally the crowd. We can't be divided. If we don't stick together, we'll only fuel the chaos. Fuel what chaos? The man challenged, stepping closer, confusion mixing with anger on his face. What are we supposed to do with their neglect? Silence is death. Maya's heart sank. She understood his frustration, felt it echoing inside her, but this was not the solution. I get it. We're all hurting. But losing ourselves won't bring about change. Just then, another loud crash resounded in the distance, snapping them from their tense standoff. People's eyes darted, anxiety flooding back in. Maya's heart raced again, pounding against her chest as she realized the danger was greater than they anticipated. We have to move, she shouted. We need to protect each other. The crowd wavered, shifting nervously, but Maya wouldn't let the fear take hold. Follow me, she said, determination lacing her voice. We can't let whatever's happening divide us. Together, we're stronger. She led the way toward the direction of the commotion, her friends closely trailing behind. Her mind raced as her feet pounded on the concrete. They needed a plan, a way to unite the others. As they neared the park entrance, the chaos unfolded before them with a terrifying clarity. Groups of people surged and pushed, while some stood frozen as if caught in an invisible grip of fear. Strains of shouts filled the air, a cacophony of anger. Maya felt the heat of the moment wrapping around her, urging her to take an inexplicable leap. Suddenly, a figure appeared from the crowd, someone she recognized. It was Ethan, her childhood friend, rushing toward her, eyes wide with panic. Maya! Thank God! He exclaimed, drawing close. I thought I'd never find you in this mess. What's happening? She asked, concern flooding her voice. They're throwing rocks. It's out of control. He shouted back, gesturing toward a section of the crowd where they could see the aftermath of a fresh conflict. Shattered glass glittered among the overturned benches, the fragility of their community laid bare. Maya stood frozen for a moment, absorbing the whirlwind of chaos around them. Fear gripped her again, yet in that moment of vulnerability, a fire of resolve sparked anew. We can't let this divide us. She yelled again, channeling every ounce of her strength into the words. Even if this storm is trying to tear us apart, we have to show that we won't back down. Ethan's eyes met hers, and in that instant, she could feel the familiar connection they shared reaching through the madness. You're right, he said softly. But how? How can we possibly convince them to stop? She paused, breathing deeply. We start by listening, she said, her voice steadier now. If they can't see each other, we help them look. Without waiting for another moment of hesitation, Maya began to weave through the crowd, calling for people to gather. Listen, everyone. We have to put our differences aside. These divisions only fuel the fire. Let us talk. Slowly, a few heads began to turn, some people tentatively quieting down. But then Maya heard that deep growl come back, louder this time, rumbling like thunder. The ground shook beneath them, but this wasn't just the aftermath of physical disarray. A sense of dread settled among the crowd as they all looked around in terror. What awaited them? With every heartbeat, Maya felt the question thrum through the air: could they really rise to the occasion before chaos consumed them all? Would their collective voice become the spark of hope they so desperately needed? Behind that distant roar, their fates hung on the edge, waiting to be revealed. Maya's voice rang out through the chaos, but it felt like a small whisper against the roaring storm around her. As she looked back at Ethan, she saw the uncertainty etched on his face, mirrored in the eyes of those nearby. Would they follow her? In that moment, every uncertainty amplified her resolve. She had to try. Listen. She shouted again, her voice sharper now, cutting through the tumult. We're scared, and that's okay. But fighting each other will only make it worse. We need to come together, we need to be a community. As those words hung in the air, something stirred. A few people stepped closer, curiosity mingling with their fear. Maya's heart raced. It was a small shift, but it was a shift nonetheless. We've lost too much already. She continued, gesturing toward the chaos and wreckage caused by the rocks. The shattered glass sparkled ominously, serving as a grim reminder of what was at stake. Each of us has a story. Let us share them instead of letting them divide us. People are stronger than hate. We need to show that today. Murmurs spread through the crowd, some agreeing with her while others remained skeptical. A woman stepped forward, clutching her child tightly, her voice trembling. But what do we do when they don't listen? When they only see us as enemies? Maya felt a pang of empathy for her. Then we keep talking. We find common ground. What brought us here today? Our fears. Our hopes for the future. If we don't start showing each other our humanity, this cycle won't stop. Just then, another tremor shook the ground, but this time, it didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a call, a jolt that awakened something inside those who heard it. Slowly, people began to shift toward her, eyes glistening with a mix of trepidation and hope. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You're right, Maya. We can't just wait for others to lead us. We've got to be brave. Maya nodded, feeling a wave of relief wash over her. She caught sight of a group of teenagers nearby, their arms crossed defiantly, but their faces intrigued. How about starting with us? She called to them, her voice filled with determination. What do you want to see happen? How do you think we can make a change? To her surprise, one of the teens stepped forward, hesitating at first. We're tired of being ignored. It's like nobody sees us. We just want to be heard. The crowd fell silent, listening closely. Then let us hear you. Maya urged, looking to the others as well. Let us have each of you share what matters most. Your voice has power, and together, we can amplify it. One by one, people began to speak, sharing stories of anger, of pain, but also of dreams for a peaceful neighborhood, for safer streets, for their children. The atmosphere shifted, the tension easing slightly as the crowd began to realize they were not alone in their struggles. Maya stood back, feeling the emotions swell around her. They were moving from rage toward understanding, she could almost taste the hope emerging from the darkness. But just when she thought they were making progress, a sudden loud roar erupted yet again, much closer this time, shaking the ground even more violently. The collective gasp sent chills down her spine. What is happening? Someone shouted. Maya felt Ethan tense beside her, frustration bubbling up. What else could go wrong now? But deep down, an unsettling question nagged at her. Would whatever was causing that sound wash away their small moments of unity? She turned back to the crowd, determination ignited again. We haven't given up yet. Let us stay together. As fear and uncertainty loomed above them like storm clouds, Maya clenched her fists. Could they hold on to their newfound connection as the chaos continued to rage around them? With the ground shaking beneath them, what would it take to turn this tide for good? Maya stood at the edge of the crowd, adrenaline coursing through her as uncertainty gripped everyone tightly. The distant roar echoed again, vibrating the air around them. She felt a shift, a collective breath as people tensed, then exhaled confusion, anger, and fear together. This was the turning point. This was their moment to ignite real change. Everyone, she began, her voice steadying amidst the chaos, we're in this together. No one gets left behind. Reality settled in. They were not just a crowd anymore, they were a community standing at a crossroads. A small voice at the back quivered, but what if we can't change anything? Maya took a step forward, locking her eyes on the speaker, an uncertain young man, his voice filled with doubt. We can't allow that fear to define us. We've already begun to connect. We just need to keep talking. The crowd murmured, glancing at one another. The tension that had felt so suffocating was now tempered by a flicker of resolve. If they could unite against their fears, they might emerge stronger. Just then, the blue-haired woman stepped up beside Maya, her voice fierce. Listen to her. Let us turn this fear into something real. Let us show how much we care. Maya felt a surge of energy at that moment. These weren't just words, they were a promise. She could see faces softening, others nodding in agreement. The blue-haired woman's passion was contagious. Now is not the time to shout at each other. It's time to unite our voices. Maya said, glancing back at Ethan, who stood ready, a soft smile warming his face. Just like we were talking about before, he jumped in, let us bring our stories to the surface. We can create a movement born right here, right now. As they spoke, people started stepping forward, sharing their stories in trembling tones, the woman who lost her son to violence, the man struggling to find work, the teenager yearning for understanding. Each account built into a symphony of shared resilience, forging connections amidst the chaos surrounding them. With each story, the energy shifted. Maya felt the storm within the crowd transform into solidarity. The roar from the distance faded as people began to listen. See? Maya said, urgency laying in her voice. When we share, we're not alone anymore. If we can stand here together, we can show our community the world what it means to rise against fear. Let us take this moment and turn it into a movement. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground closer, pulsing with urgency. Now! Shouted Mr. Thompson, emerging from the back, urgency in his eyes. He pointed toward the park. We need to take this energy and direct it toward action. Right now. Maya felt the weight of his words as a sudden clarity enveloped her, they could make their voices echo beyond the chaos. Each person had power, they had stories that mattered. With a cry, Maya shouted, to the park. Let us bring our unity out there and make sure everyone watching knows who we are. She pressed forward, leading the way as the crowd surged behind her, voices rising like a tidal wave of hope. As they made their way down the street, a heartbeat of connection thrummed in the air around them. It felt light yet electric, an overwhelming sense of purpose coursed through the crowd. Families began stepping out of their homes, drawn by the commotion, while others joined in to stand against the chaos, shoulder to shoulder. Maya glanced at Mr. Thompson, who flashed her a proud smile. Together, they began chanting, together, we rise. Together, we care. Others echoed back. Their voices wove together like threads of hope, winding through the core of their community. Finally reaching the park, the transformation was palpable. Light flooded the area, illuminating faces that had once been filled with doubt and fear. Now, each countenance bore conviction. Maya stood before the gathered crowd, her heart swelling with pride, joy threading through her veins. This is our moment. She declared. We've faced fear, and we've learned that we're stronger together. Cheers erupted, and Maya couldn't help but bask in the warmth of their shared strength. They were no longer defined by division, they were a united front ready to challenge injustice and create change. For every scream of fear, there was a voice of resilience. From every shattered window, they would build a world of hope. The roar settled into a quiet, reverberating resolution. This was just the beginning. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, the night sky painted deep hues of red and orange, Maya felt the pull of possibility. They were on the cusp of something monumental, a transformation sparked by one small act of kindness that had ignited a fire in the hearts of many. In that moment, she finally believed in herself. She felt lighter and brighter, and as fears melted away, a radiant smile broke across her face. This was the moment they would begin to heal a fractured community. And as she looked around, she knew she wasn't alone anymore. They were all in it together, and the journey had only just begun. If you've loved this story, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support and not miss the next exclusive tales. Drop a like right now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly makes a difference. Comment down below with your thoughts and feelings about this ending. How did it touch you? And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. Let us spread this message far and wide.